This is In Focus, and I'm Huang Fei in Beijing. As the world's largest EV market and producer, China is facing scrutiny from Europe, where traditional automakers are losing ground. The European Commission says that's because Chinese brands enjoy market-distorting subsidies and has launched an investigation. But Beijing says that probe itself is disrupting the global auto industry and hurting economic relations. So what's really happening? At the first China International Supply Chain Expo, I explored the intricate components of the EV supply chain to unravel the forces that propel or undermine our transition to a greener future. This is synthetic graphite. It's the battery material that fuels the majority of electric vehicles. Throughout 2023, almost 1 in 5 new cars were electric, and most of them were made in China. Chinese automakers are set to almost double their market share in Europe in just 2 years, and that's raised some eyebrows.
Global markets are now flooded with cheaper Chinese electric cars, and their price is kept artificially low by huge state subsidies.
The European Commission says China-made EVs are typically 20% cheaper than their EU counterparts, and is therefore considering import tariffs.
This is a blatant act of protectionism under the guise of fair competition.
So why are EVs from China more affordable? Is it because of Beijing's decade-old industry promotion policy and incentives? Or does it hinge on economies of scale, stringent cost control measures, and effective planning? I begin by asking the largest exporter of EVs from China to Europe. And no, it's not the 3 Chinese companies under the EU probe, but rather Tesla.
We churn out a new car in under 40 seconds.
The American firm produced nearly half of its global exports in Shanghai last year.
This is thanks to our Chinese supply chain. Over 95% of the parts are localized. We have over 400 excellent local suppliers. This helps reduce costs throughout our production process. China is fertile ground for EVs.
That fertile ground hosts many international giants, including Germany's BMW and Volkswagen. It's unclear how the EU probe will affect non-Chinese companies also producing here for the global market. Japan's AGC Group is one of the world's largest suppliers of automotive glass for EVs. Recently, company executive Ueda Toshihiro oversaw the establishment of the firm's most advanced factory in East China.
Supply chain within China is well established as planned, but the challenge is whether this China supply chain can connect to the world. It's a relatively harder because, as you said, different geopolitical view. People want to have a good, cheap, nice quality, like cars or advanced technology. So it's decided by the people in that region.
Industry analysts are also challenging von der Leyen's assumption that China has an unfair advantage.
China had stopped national rebates as soon as electric cars became competitive. It's a level playing field now, whereas countries like Germany and Thailand still offer subsidies. Chinese cars are popular because after a decade of maturing at home, automakers have come up with international products that are truly competitive.
If in the end the European Commission decides to impose anti-subsidy tariffs on Chinese EVs, who benefits in this scenario?
EU tariffs could be as steep as 50%. European consumers would be the first to suffer because they wouldn't have as many good, affordable options. Chinese automakers could lose out on market share too, and if Beijing retaliates, European automakers won't like it either. So, this is a situation where everybody loses.
Despite the scrutiny, leading Chinese companies continue to make big strides overseas. Remember this powder? Well, Ningbo Shanshan produces cutting-edge lithium-ion battery material that gives their cars faster charging times and longer ranges. Well, after becoming a leading supplier with nearly a dozen factories in China, Shanshan is planning to replicate its success in Europe. is investing $1.3 billion in the development of a new factory in Finland.
If we produce in Europe, we can supply our clients at much lower costs. And the Finnish government is very welcoming because we would also create local jobs. China produces over 90% of battery materials globally. In the new energy sector, China has made huge contributions.
Clean tech industries are driving China closer to its emissions targets set under the Paris Agreement. The country is poised to reach its 2060 net zero target ahead of schedule. As the EU contemplates penalties, they seem to have forgotten the bigger picture.
Global warming.
Changing climate.
Climate.
There is no planet B.
If we're trying to wean ourselves off fossil fuels as fast as possible, why not work more closely with a nation capable of delivering well-designed, affordable green cars to millions worldwide?